we understand that notions such as redemption and abolishment of the law and the Trinity and all of these...
Crucifixion.
The crucifixion will come to in a while.
Okay.
We understand all of these concepts as having been introduced by other people. Muslim historians mention Paul, they mention Constantine, they mention the Council of Nicaea, they mention this and that. That's besides the point. The Qur'an is very explicit that Jesus did not preach the Trinity, and he did not preach his own any type of divinity, and he came to fulfill the law and preach to the children of Israel. He wasn't really meant for the non-children of Israel.
So the Qur'an, a number of times, primarily in surahs 4 and 5, specifically says, do not say three. And it uses the specific Arabic word for three. It doesn't use the word for Trinity, it says three. Would you interpret that word three as an attempt to specifically refer to the Trinity, the way you were just explaining it?
Well, that is how it has been understood historically by exegetes of the Quran.
Okay.
Adnan, my first question, why did Surah 5:116 get the wrong Trinitarian formula if it is from Allah?
Thank you for that question. Although the question is not directly related to the topic, James raised some points about the Quran, whether the Quran got the Trinity right or wrong. James has debated this topic previously with a number of Muslim apologists or scholars or activists, and he has been given clear answers on that point. The issue of the doctrine of the Trinity in the Quran is a very interesting one. Very quickly, I'll try to summarize my points as quick as possible. The Quran is not a book on Christian theology. The Quran is not a book on science. The Quran is not a book of history. The Quran is a book that contains verses that are very important for human salvation. So Quran makes simple points for people to understand and moves on. There is no mention of Trinity in the verse 116 of the chapter 5 of the Quran. There's no mention of the Trinity. The Quran simply says, this is a dialogue taking between God and Jesus. God asks Jesus, did you tell people to worship you and your mother as gods besides Allah? And Jesus responds that I have never said anything like it, and you are better aware of the fact that I have never said anything like it or claimed anything like it. Now, is the Quran correct in claiming that the Christians or some people worship Jesus and Mary? Of course the Quran is absolutely accurate in this verse. The Quran doesn't say that did you actually preach the doctrine of the Trinity with God the Father, God the Son, and Mary as the third person. The Quran is not saying that. The Quran is making a simple statement. Did you actually ask people to worship you and your mother? Do Christians worship Jesus? Of course, they do worship Jesus. In fact, at the expense of God the Father, they worship Jesus. People like James D.G. Dunn, one of the biggest scholars on patristic history, has written on this topic. Did early Christians worship Jesus? And he has very interesting points to make. And in this book, in the conclusion, he states that the Christians today are effectively guilty of Jesus-olatry. Just like idolatry, they are guilty of Jesus-olatry because the focus of their worship has become Jesus, not God the Father, whom Jesus himself worshipped. So the Quran is making that point, number one. Number two, Mary, was she ever worshipped by Christians? She is worshipped to this day. The Catholics, in fact, the Council of Chalcedon, 461 CE, regarded Mary as the God-bearer, the one who carries God in her womb. In other words, the mother of God. Catholics have been praying to Mary for the past 1,700 years. And the Quran is addressing those people. And when the Quran talks about the Trinity in chapter 471, it simply says, do not say three. Now, God understands that Christians have understood the Trinity differently in different times and different places. This is the debate tonight. The Christians have never had unanimity on the doctrine of the Trinity, especially in the first 4 centuries. My time is up. Thank you.
Is there any place else in the Quran where you can define the three? Say not three. Who are the three? If it's not Allah, Mary, and Jesus, who are the three according to the Quran?
So here, do we have connection?
Oh.
Sorry.
It shouldn't be. There you go.
You may not believe this, but there are over 1 billion people who do. And they happen to be with the older tradition, where...
The Bible is the oldest tradition.
Okay.
Let me assure you.
But see, the Qur'an is not just addressing what you may have in a book. The Qur'an is addressing what the people believe and think. Okay? It's not concerned, you can have a book and nobody has it, until the printing press, how many people did have copies of the entire Bible? It wasn't a public thing, right? So he had to address what people heard and saw and did. And here, we see that Mary is considered the mother of God.
Yes, there's a background to what Theotokos means.
So Mary has been venerated since early Christianity and is considered by millions to be the most meritorious saint of the religion. Christians from Orthodox, Eastern, and Oriental, Roman Catholic, Anglican, and Lutheran churches believe that Mary, as mother of Jesus, is the mother of God.
What does that mean? That Jesus, when he was born, was truly God. Not that Mary gave birth to God and brought God into origination.
But
the
Dr.
entire
White,
argument,
there are people who are kneeling to Mary, worshiping Mary, and saying, "O Mother of God."
today, that is the case.
Has
But
been the case for centuries.
But when
Since before Muhammad.
so you're admitting that that Surah 5:116 is identifying the three as Allah, Jesus, and Mary, right?
It is, because that's a practice being done by
So there is
Orthodox,
no refutation.
Eastern, and Oriental, by Roman Catholic, by Anglicans and Lutherans.